Hey everybody, welcome back to Jerry and Jamie 2 Up. I'm your host Jerry, and today we're going to talk about the 5 tips to planning your epic motorcycle adventure. So if that interests you, stay tuned and we'll see you after the intro. So like most of you, we're pretty much not riding as much as we usually do. It's a little cold outside, so the temperatures keep us in the house and kind of keep us in the garage doing these sorts of things. So start thinking about, what do I do since I love riding a motorcycle? What do I do in the wintertime? And most of that time is spent on planning trips for the upcoming spring and summer and fall. So with that being said, I thought, well, maybe I'll just outline some of the things that I do quickly to kind of map out a trip. So with that, I kind of broke it down to 5 things that we do. And so we're going to start off with the first thing. The first thing I call is the foundation. And the foundation is this, right? It's, hey, how many days are you going to go on the trip? How many, is it going to be a destination or is it going to be a journey trip? And so those two are described as, look, if it's a destination, you're going to a certain area, you're going to ride in that area, and then you're going to come home. Or is it going to be, hey, let's ride 300 miles, let's stay someplace, let's go adventure at another place, and just kind of make a big loop, staying in a new location every single night. You know, is this going to be a group ride? Is it going to be a solo ride? That's going to make a big difference as well on how many miles you want to ride and that sort of thing. Also lodging, right? Are you going to camp? Are you going to stay in a hotel? It's all going to alter the way you plan for your motorcycle trip. So with that, you want to get the foundation together. Hey, how long am I going to be out? What do I want to see? What do we want to accomplish? Is it going to be a round trip? Is it going to be a base camp type of trip? How are we going to stay? Are we going to stay in a hotel? Are we going to camp? Those types of things. So that's the first thing, right? Just getting the foundation. So the second tip is doing the legwork. And I think this is the most intensive and time consuming of the entire process, because this is where you're going to start really doing some research on what places you're going to visit, how long you're going to spend in certain areas. And this is, of course, going to depend on what your foundation was, how many days you can be gone, are you camping and lodging, that sort of thing. First thing I always do is I always just go to publications. So I'll go to websites for the states, so like West Virginia Tourism or Arkansas Tourism, and I just pull up their websites, and a lot of states have some really good free material they'll send you. Also, you can search through there and kind of do that. So that's the first thing I do. I also go to other publications, kind of like Roadrunner, Touring Edition. They have some pretty good trips in there. And then I get on the map, right? So, look, we all use Google Maps and that sort of thing, or I think most of us do. I also like to use the real-time maps. So there's some great, if you just, your local Chamber of Commerce will give you local state maps, and then Butler maps. And I'll put a link down below. These things are fantastic, very durable maps, but they give you some great motorcycle roads and some places that you can go check out. And then I would also say to go get a red book. It's one of the best tools that you could have for searching in a certain area, looking for roads and that sort of thing. Another thing I would do is, look, get on forums. MSTA, BMW, any of those forums. If you go on there and say, hey, I'm going to visit Maine, what's some of the places I need to check out? You're going to get more than enough replies on where you should go. And you want to make sure you book lodging or campsites. Some people, look, if you don't want to do that, you just want to fly by the seat of your pants and stay when you get there, that's great. However, in the age of COVID, which we're unfortunately in, that's a little harder to do. Things get filled up pretty quickly. So again, just depending on how you want to travel, I personally like to have places booked so I know that when I get there, we've got a place to stay and that sort of thing. It depends also if you're going to base camp or if you're riding. If you're base camping, then you're going to go to a certain area and you're going to do day rides out of that area, which is what we like to do a lot. Then you can kind of sit there and you can really concentrate on spending some time in that area and getting to see things. So for an example, we're going to West Virginia this year for the MSTA Rally, but we'll also be going to Harper's Ferry and Antietam and places that we want to see historically there that we probably wouldn't get a chance to go visit if it wasn't going for the MSTA Rally. Also, you want to look at going to get online and getting tickets for certain areas. So one of the first things I would tell you to do is, if you're going to visit any national parks, just go to the national park site and get an annual pass. So depending on your age and depending on what you want to do, just buy an annual pass. I think they're like $80. Some of the best money you'll ever spend, and you can get in any park. You just show the pass and you don't have to worry about it. Getting tickets for any destination that you want to go to that may require a ticket. So you just want to look at that and they open. So people laugh all the time, but how many times have you rode up someplace and the place isn't even open? And in today's times, that's really an issue that you got to worry about. A couple years ago, we went down to Deals Gap and did all that. We were going to go through the Wheels of Time Museum down in Maggie Valley. Rode down there and they weren't open. And that information was all on the website. We just didn't take the time to go do it. So you got the foundation, how long you're going to be gone, what kind of, what you're going to do there, doing the legwork. Hey, this is what we want to go see. So now your trip is starting to come in. You're starting to see what's going on with the trip. And step number 3 is I always put this on here, and the reason I do it is because I'm really bad at this, is to stop and smell the roses, right? So when you're planning a trip, that's an extended period of time, and most of our big journeys, we're out for usually 9 days. So we've got a couple days to get where we're going, we'll spend a week, and then we've got a couple days to come back. So we know our time's kind of condensed, but sometimes we just get in such a hurry to go and go see things that we don't slow down and truly enjoy the trip. So when I say stop and smell the roses, there's a couple things that I would focus on, right? So the first thing is when you're mapping your trip, how many miles do you really want to ride each day, right? So look, the first days when you take off, if you're base camping and you're going someplace, you may want to ride 500, 600 miles a day so you can get to where you're going, so then the adventure can really begin. Or you're just taking it day by day and you're doing a loop. You've got to really be careful on how many miles you're planning, and a couple factors go into play there. Look, depending on the time of year, I don't like to ride at night, so I much rather get to where I'm going, where I'm staying, or where I'm camping in the daylight. I just not comfortable riding a motorcycle after dark. I just think it adds too many bad things that can happen to you. But that's just me, right? Some people like to come in later and do all that. But knowing that, I want to make sure I'm planning my day that I can get to where I'm staying at a decent time in the evening, right? So one of the things I look at is how many miles do I want to ride? So if you're on vacation and you want to do a 300-mile day, a 300-mile day is not necessarily a long day, especially if you're doing some 2-lane, it's kind of straight, you're just kind of visiting places, right? But in that 300 miles, how many stops are you going to take? What are you going to stop and see? You don't want to feel rushed if you stop at an overlook. You don't want to feel like you can't take pictures or you can't get your drone out or whatever you want to do. You want to make sure that you have plenty of time to plan your trip but be able to enjoy your trip. If it's in Arkansas or you're in Colorado or you're in some of the places that are really twisty or there's a lot of things to see, a 300-mile day is a long day. Got into a factor, and again, if you don't do twisty roads, you can do a longer day. If you don't want to stay someplace for any amount of time, you can do a longer day. We really like to fill the sweet spots around 200 to 250 miles. That gives you enough time to go see things, eat lunch. So that brings me to another thing to stop and smell the roses is I love eating at local places, wherever you're at, right? So do some research on the internet, find out where the locals eat, and go search out those places. I actually like to go check out those diners, drives, and drive-in places, that sort of thing. We will never, you can almost count on it, we will never eat at a chain while we're out on a motorcycle ride. We're usually either cooking on a campsite or we're going to mom and pop places and enjoying the local cuisine. So again, think about that when you're planning your trip. Hey, if it's 240 miles, how many stops are you going to take? Are you going to go to a historical place where you're going to spend a couple hours? You may even want to cut that back from that day. So just don't put yourself in such a rush that you're trying to get through everything so quickly. So think about that when you're planning. I love plans, right? I'm a planner. But everybody's got a time where you're riding and then all of a sudden you're like, man, I want to spend some time here. I don't even, don't be afraid to alter your plans, right? So if you know, hey, we want to go here and do this, some of the best experiences and journeys that Jamie and I have had, we've altered plans in the middle of a day and we've just done something else. So don't be afraid to do that. Stop and smell the roses. Enjoy that. So you got the foundation of the trip, how long you're going to go, where you're going to stay. You've done the legwork. What do I want to see? Where do I want to stay? Just remember that when you're doing this to go ahead and stop and smell the roses. Before we go on to number 4, I would like to take a moment to thank you all for subscribing to the channel. So over the last week, since the versus concourse video came out, we've actually gained 20 subscribers and our watch time has gone tremendously up. So I want to thank you guys for watching that video. Got some great comments, and it's really cool getting some dialogue going between everybody. So if you do like the content on here, look, motorcycles, Jeeps, camping, that sort of thing, two-up riding. If you like all that stuff, just do us a favor and hit the subscribe button down below, mash the notification, do all that YouTube stuff for us because we really do appreciate it. So now we want to go on to number 4, putting it all together. And what does that mean, right? So now after you've got the foundation of your trip, you know where you're going, you know where you're staying, you decided, hey, this is where we're going to stop and smell the roses. These are the roads that we want to take. Now you're going to put it all together. And that's going to depend on what you like to do as well. I'm a GPS guy, and I will say that years ago I wasn't a GPS guy, but now I find it really hard to do a trip without a GPS. I really like to sit down, map it out, have it all done, so then I can sit there and I can even look at gas stops and that sort of thing. Some people don't want to plan like that. That's just my thing. But you want to sit down and you want to get it. So there's a couple tools that you can use. Again, I use Garmin Basecamp, put it into the GPS. A lot of people use Google Maps. A lot of people use Google My Maps. If you haven't used My Maps in Google, you should go check that out. It's really kind of a cool way to do that. Mario Orsini at Two Wheel Rider kind of got me on that. I never used it that much. He sent me a couple files of West Virginia and it was on My Maps, and it's really cool. So thanks Mario for hooking us up with that. But when you're putting it together, now you want to get it into whatever form you're going to use. If you're using maps, that's great too. Just make sure you get it all highlighted and whatever you need to do, and you can fold it up and get it on the bike and that sort of thing. You want to start packing, right? So, and when I say start packing, we actually don't start packing for the trip, but we start packing for the trip mentally, right? So, hey, what kind of year are we, what time of year are we going to be there? What's the weather usually like when we're going to be there? Are we going to be able to pack, should we pack rain gear? Should we pack heated gear? That sort of thing. We're also going to get into that as well. Always pack your rain gear, folks, and I'll tell you why later. The early packing stages of just kind of that little legwork, and then the closer you get to your trip, of course, then you want to start thinking about, hey, what do I want to take with me? What kind of clothing do I need to take? And that sort of thing. And then the last but not least thing of getting it all together, don't forget to take your camera, right? So look, we take a video camera, we take a drone, but the camera we use the most on all of our trips is our phone, right? And I think 99% of us are probably in that situation. So don't forget to take your phone or your camera, whatever you're doing. I have a good friend named Rob. He always takes his camera when he's on these big trips and he gets some magnificent pictures. If you're a photo guy, just make sure you take your cameras so you can capture the memories. You're going to see so much on these trips, on this epic journey, that you don't want to forget anything. I also have a motto, right? Don't answer your phone, take pictures with your phone. They'll call back if the people need to talk to you, right? So you get it in a software, put your maps together, start your preliminary packing, and make sure you take a camera with you. So if you made it this far, we'll kind of recap real quick, right? So number 1's a foundation. How many days are you going to be gone? Where do you want to stay? What kind of trip do you want to do? That's going to be the building blocks for your whole trip, right? Number 2, doing the legwork. Now I'm going to go get online, figure out what I want to see, what we want to do while we're doing on that trip. 3 is kind of going and just making sure you're stopping and smelling the roses. Go to that restaurant you want to find out for the local. Go check out a local brewery, whatever you want to do, but stop and stay at an overlook for an extra 20 minutes if that's what you want to do. Then the 4th thing is putting it all together, getting your trips in GPS, getting them on the map, starting to prep for your packing, looking at weather, that sort of thing, and then make sure you take your camera so you get some memories of it. Number 5 is the most important thing. Just go do it. How many times do you hear people say, oh man, I would love to do a trip like that, but I've got kids, or I don't have enough money, or the time of day, or COVID, or whatever it is, right? There's always some excuse, and I get it. Life comes into play. I raise kids. I understand you can't go on all the trips. We didn't have a lot of money. Guys I rode with, they all know we were all about budget. But there were times we just decided to go do these trips. So that's one thing that I would just tell you guys. Look, the planning's fun. Nothing's better than getting out and doing it, right? So this year, commit to going out and doing it. Even if it's local rides, just commit to going out and spending a couple days. Venture around in your own state. We've moved to Arkansas 3 years ago, and it is so much fun to learn about your own state. It's also fun when the roads are as good as they are around here. But there's so many things to see in your own state that you don't have to go very far. Epic trips, they don't have to cost an arm and a leg. Jamie and I did many trips where we camped, where we cooked out, where the trips, our dog's boarding cost more than some of our lodging and some of our motorcycle trips. So you can do it if you want to do it. So I would just recommend, look, 2021, get out, go on a motorcycle trip. You guys all know, most of the people watching this video are motorcycle enthusiasts. You all know the endorphins that you feel when you're out on that motorcycle riding. So is you also want to make sure your bike, when you're doing your prepping stuff and you're getting it all together, you want to make sure the closer you get to your trip that your bike's okay to go, because nothing's worse on a motorcycle trip than having to go stop and spend a day getting a motorcycle tire. Yes, I've had to do that a number of times, right? So you just got to, make sure you got good tires, make sure your bike's in good running order, make sure everything's together there, change the oil, all that stuff. So when you're on your trip, all you got to do is turn the key on, hit the gas, and it's going to go, right? But what do you guys do when you're looking for trips? Give me some advice. I would love to find better ways or newer ways or a different way to look for trips, because again, our time's limited when we're on a motorcycle, so I want these trips to be as good as they are. So tell me down in the comments below what you do to prepare for a trip. So last but not least, I want to thank you guys again for watching the video. Hopefully our paths cross in 2021. That'd be awesome if we got to see some of our viewers that we don't know. I'm sure we'll run into some of our friends. Slow down and enjoy the trip that you're on. Go do it. Go get on the motorcycle and go ride, right? So hopefully we get to cross paths. You guys, thank you for watching this video. We're trying to get content out every single week, so I appreciate you watching it. If you have any questions or comments or anything about how we take a video or that sort of thing, just give me put a comment down below and I'll respond. I try to respond to every comment, and I've done pretty well with that, so I want to continue with that. So until next time, everybody, thank you for watching. Hope you're doing well. Hope it's warm wherever you're at. Hope you're healthy wherever you're at. And until next time, everybody, stay safe and let's ride. Thanks.